Imagine for a moment that everything you've ever worried about, every regret from yesterday, every fear about tomorrow, simply dissolved. Not because your life suddenly became perfect, but because you discovered a dimension of reality where problems cannot exist. A place where peace is not something you achieve, but something you already are. What if I told you that this place is not somewhere far away, not something you need to earn or work toward for years, but something accessible right here, right now, in this very instant? There was once a man who sat on a park bench for nearly 2 years, doing nothing but experiencing the most profound joy anyone could imagine. He had no job, no home, no identity as the world defines it, yet he had found what billions spend their entire lives searching for. This is not a fantasy. This is the story of a teacher who discovered that the doorway to freedom is hidden in plain sight, in the one place we constantly overlook, the present moment. You're watching the book Sanctuary. The man on that park bench was Eckhart Tolle, and what he discovered in a single night of unbearable suffering would eventually transform millions of lives across the world. Born in Germany and educated in the prestigious universities of London and Cambridge, Tolle seemed destined for a conventional academic life. But beneath the surface of his scholarly existence, a darkness was growing. By his late 20s, he lived in a state of almost continuous anxiety, punctuated by periods of suicidal depression. The weight of his own mind had become unbearable. Then, one night shortly after his 29th birthday, something extraordinary happened. In the depths of his despair, as he repeated the thought, "I cannot live with myself any longer," he suddenly became aware of the strangeness of this statement. If I cannot live with myself, then there must be two of me, the I and the self. In that moment of recognition, his mind stopped completely. What followed was a complete dissolution of his pain body and a rebirth into a state of deep peace and joy that would become his permanent reality. For years after this awakening, Tolle lived in a state of bliss, eventually beginning to share his insights with small groups of seekers. From these intimate gatherings emerged The Power of Now, a book that would become one of the most transformative spiritual texts of our time. This is not a book about philosophy or religion. It is not a collection of beliefs to adopt or practices to perfect. It is, instead, a clear and direct pointing toward the most accessible, yet most overlooked truth, that the present moment is all we ever truly have, and within it lies the doorway to a completely different dimension of consciousness. In the time we spend together today, you will not just hear about these ideas. You will be invited into an experience, a transformation that begins the moment you truly understand what it means to be present. This is not about adding something new to your life. It is about discovering what has always been there, waiting beneath the noise of your thinking mind. So take a breath, let go of wherever your mind was wandering, and allow yourself to simply be here, now, as we explore the most profound journey you will ever take. The journey from time to presence, from suffering to peace, from the prison of your mind to the infinite freedom of your true nature. Chapter 1: The Prison of the Mind. Most people live their entire lives without realizing they are prisoners. The cell is invisible, the bars are made of thought, and the guard is your own mind. Right now, as you hear these words, there's likely a voice in your head commenting on what you're hearing. Perhaps it's agreeing, disagreeing, comparing this to something else you've heard before, or planning what you'll do later today. This voice never stops. It narrates your life like a constant radio broadcast you cannot turn off. And here's the shocking truth. You are not that voice. You are the one listening to it. The mind is an extraordinary instrument, perhaps the most sophisticated tool in the known universe. With it, humans have split the atom, composed symphonies, built civilizations, and explored the cosmos. But somewhere along the evolutionary journey, something went terribly wrong. The servant became the master. The tool took over the user. The mind, which should be at your service, is instead running your life, and you have become completely identified with it. You think you are your mind, but this is the fundamental delusion that creates all human suffering. Think about the last time you lay awake at night. unable to sleep because your mind was churning with thoughts. You wanted it to stop, but it wouldn't. You wanted peace, but the mind kept replaying past events or projecting future scenarios, most of them negative. In those moments, you experienced directly what it means to be possessed by your own thinking. The compulsive thinker, which is almost everyone, lives in an insanely complex world of continuous problems and conflict. And all of this is created by a mind that has lost touch with the deeper reality of being. The philosopher Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am," believing he had discovered the most fundamental truth. But he had, in fact, articulated the most basic error, equating thinking with being, and equating identity with thinking. The truth is the exact opposite. The more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. The more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain and the egoic mind. This is not a denial of the mind's usefulness. When you use your mind consciously as a tool for specific tasks, it is brilliant and effective. But the moment you are no longer present, it uses you. It becomes your master, and you become its unconscious slave. Consider this. Are you able to stop thinking whenever you want? Can you find the off button? Most people cannot. They're like someone possessed by an entity they don't even know is there, mistaking the possessing entity for themselves. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not this possessing entity, not the thinker. Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought, and that thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence. All the things that truly matter, beauty, love, creativity, joy, inner peace, arise from beyond the mind. You begin to awaken, but the mind is cunning. It has become so powerful that it creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that blocks all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow human beings, between you and nature, between you and God. It creates the illusion of separateness, the feeling that you are fundamentally alone in a hostile universe. And from this illusion arises all fear, all conflict, all violence. The mind cannot function without time, without past and future, and so it perceives the timeless now as threatening. It fights to keep you trapped in time, because time is the substance of the mind's identity. When you become aware of this pattern, when you can observe your mind without being taken over by it, something miraculous happens. Gaps begin to appear in the stream of thinking, brief moments of no mind, where you experience a discontinuity in the mental noise. In those gaps, you feel a certain stillness and peace inside you. This is the beginning of your natural state of felt oneness with being, which is usually obscured by the mind. With practice, these gaps become longer. You realize that you are not your thoughts or emotions. You are the awareness, the presence, the consciousness that observes them. And in this realization lies the key to your liberation. Chapter 2. The pain that lies in you. Deep within almost every human being, there's an accumulation of old emotional pain. This pain has a life of its own, and it lives in your mind and body like an invisible entity. It waits in a dormant state for something to trigger it, and when activated, it takes over your thinking and your behavior completely. You are no longer yourself. The pain body, as it can be called, is fed by negative thinking and dramatic life situations. It is addicted to unhappiness, and most people are completely unaware that it exists. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go, filled with rocks collected from every painful experience you've ever had. Every rejection, every humiliation, every moment of fear or grief adds another stone to the pack. Over time, this burden becomes so heavy that you can barely stand. Yet you cannot put it down because you have identified with it. The pain body is not just the residue of past pain. It has become part of your identity. Without it, you fear you would cease to exist. This is why people unconsciously resist letting go of their suffering. The familiar, even if painful, feels safer than the unknown. The pain body has two modes, dormant and active. When dormant, it may constitute up to 90% of some people's lives without them realizing it is there, creating a continuous low-level background static of unease, anxiety, boredom, or nervousness. When it becomes active, it seeks more pain to feed on. It will create situations in your life designed to generate suffering. It will make you argue with your partner, start conflicts at work, feel depressed without reason, or become physically ill. And here's the insidious part. When it has taken you over, you want more pain. You become a victim or a perpetrator, unconsciously seeking to inflict pain on yourself or others, because pain is all the pain body knows. It is its food, its life force. Think about the last time you got into an argument that seemed to escalate for no logical reason. Perhaps your partner said something mildly irritating, and suddenly you found yourself unleashing a torrent of accusations, bringing up past grievances, saying things you knew would hurt. In that moment, you were not yourself. The pain body was feeding through you, using the situation to generate more emotional pain. Or consider times when you felt inexplicably depressed, when even good things happening in your life couldn't lift your mood. That heavy, dark feeling consuming you from within, that was the pain body awakening from dormancy. But here is the transformative truth. The pain body cannot survive in your conscious presence. It is afraid of the light of your awareness. Its survival depends on your unconscious identification with it and your unconscious fear of facing the pain. The moment you observe it, feel its energy within you without labeling or judging it, without trying to get rid of it, something extraordinary happens. By bringing consciousness to the pain, you begin to break the identification with it. A higher dimension of consciousness has come in. You are no longer the pain. You are the awareness observing the pain. And this awareness is who you truly are. The process is simple but requires vigilance. When you feel the pain body awakening, perhaps as a sudden irritation, a flash of anger, a wave of sadness, or a physical discomfort, immediately become alert. Catch it before it takes over your thinking and behavior. Put the spotlight of your attention on it. If it is an emotion, feel the strong energy charge behind it without judging it. Know that it is the pain body, not you. Be the knowing. Don't let the pain body use your mind and take over your thinking, because the moment your thinking is aligned with the energy field of the pain body, you are unconsciously feeding it with your thoughts. As you practice this witnessing, the pain body will continue to operate for a while, trying to trick you back into identification. But if you stay present, stay conscious, it cannot control your thinking. Its energy will gradually diminish. Sustained conscious attention severs the link between the pain body and your thought processes and brings about transmutation. The pain becomes fuel for the flame of your consciousness, which burns more brightly as a result. This is the esoteric meaning of the ancient art of alchemy, the transmutation of base metal into gold, of suffering into consciousness. The split within is healed, and you become whole again. Chapter 3. The Doorway Called Now. Time is a mind-made illusion, yet it governs almost every aspect of your life. Right now, your mind is probably either in the past, rehashing something that happened earlier today, last week, or 20 years ago, or it is in the future, planning, worrying, anticipating what might come next. But here's a question that will reveal the fundamental truth. Have you ever experienced, done, thought, or felt anything outside the now? Can you ever? The answer is obvious. Nothing ever happened in the past. It happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future. It will happen in the now. What you think of as the past is merely a memory trace stored in the mind, a former now. When you remember the past, you are reactivating that memory trace in the present moment. The future is an imagined now, a projection of the mind. When the future comes, it always comes as the now. Past and future have no reality of their own. Their reality is borrowed from the eternal present. Just as the moon has no light of its own but only reflects the light of the sun, past and future are pale reflections of the now. Understanding this intellectually is one thing. Experiencing it is entirely different. Close your eyes for a moment and feel yourself here, in this instant. Not thinking about being here, but actually feeling the aliveness of your body, the sensation of breathing, the space around you. In this moment, right now, is there actually any problem? Not tomorrow's problems, not the memory of yesterday's difficulties, but right here, right now. Can you find a problem? Most people discover that when they bring their attention fully into the present moment, problems dissolve. They exist only in time, in the dimension of past and future. In the now, in the absence of time, all problems dissolve. Suffering needs time. It cannot survive in the now. Yet despite this simple truth, humanity is enslaved to time. We have accumulated so much time in our individual and collective psyche that we have lost touch with the eternal dimension of the now. We use the present moment as a means to get to some future moment, which only exists in the mind. We think, when I achieve this goal, get that thing, become successful, find the right partner, then I will be happy, then I will be fulfilled. But fulfillment never comes, because as soon as one future moment arrives and becomes the now, the mind immediately creates another future moment where fulfillment is supposed to be waiting. This is the core delusion of the human condition. We believe we need time, we need the future, to become free or complete. But the truth is that here and now is the only point from which you can access that freedom. Not tomorrow, not after you finish reading this, not when circumstances change. Now, this very instant is the portal. Every spiritual teacher throughout history has pointed to this truth. Jesus said, "Take no thought for the morrow." Buddha taught that clinging to the idea of past and future is the root of suffering. Sufi mystics declared, "Past and future veil God from our sight." Yet despite these teachings being available for thousands of years, they have remained a secret because the mind cannot grasp them. The mind is time, and it will fight to keep you trapped in time, because the now is its death. To enter the now does not mean you stop using time for practical purposes. You still make appointments, plan projects, learn from past experiences. This is what can be called clock time, and it is necessary for functioning in the world. But there is a vast difference between clock time and psychological time, which is the mind's identification with past and future and continuous projection away from the now. Psychological time is an addiction, a mental disease, and it manifests as the constant low-level anxiety and discontent that most people accept as normal. It manifests as the belief that who you are is defined by your past, and that your salvation lies in some future moment. The moment you make the now the primary focus of your life, everything changes. You realize that life is now. There never was a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. You stop using the present moment as a means to an end. You no longer sacrifice the now for some imagined future. Instead, you give your fullest attention to whatever you are doing. Walking becomes a meditation. Washing dishes becomes an act of presence. Listening to someone becomes a sacred practice of being fully there with them. The quality of your consciousness determines the quality of your experience, and presence is the highest quality of consciousness available to human beings. Chapter 4. Breaking Free from the Time Prison. If you have ever been in a life-threatening situation, you know something remarkable about the present moment. In those instances, time seems to disappear. A car swerves toward you, and suddenly everything slows down. You are intensely alert, completely present, and your response comes from a place beyond thought. There is no fear, no anxiety about past or future, just clear, immediate action. Why? Because in that moment of crisis, your personality recedes and is replaced by an intense conscious presence. This is the state of no mind, where you are fully alive, fully here, and the burden of psychological time is lifted. Some people become addicted to dangerous activities, mountain climbing, extreme sports, or high-risk ventures. Without realizing they are actually addicted to the state of presence these activities force upon them. When you are hanging off a cliff face, slipping for even 1 second into thinking about the past or future could mean death. You have no choice but to be absolutely here. The irony is that you do not need to climb mountains or jump out of planes to access this state. It is available to you right now, in this very moment, without any external conditions needing to change. But the mind resists this truth with every fiber of its being. It has created an elaborate world of problems, stories, dramas, and identities that depend on time for their existence. If you were to become fully present, this mind-made world would collapse like a house of cards. Your problems would dissolve. Your sense of a separate self, which is nothing but a collection of thoughts about past and future, would disappear. And the ego, which is the false self created by identification with mind, experiences this as a threat to its very survival. So it fights. It tells you that you need to figure things out, that you need to plan and worry and remember and anticipate. It keeps you trapped in the endless cycle of past and future, never allowing you to discover what is here when time stops. The shift from time to presence is the most fundamental transformation that can happen to a human being. At first, it may come only in brief glimpses. You are walking in nature, and suddenly you notice the extraordinary beauty of a tree. For a moment, the mind stops its commentary. There's just seeing, pure perception without thought. Or you're listening to music, and you become so absorbed that the listener disappears. There's only the music, the experience itself. These moments are portals into the eternal now. They give you a taste of what is available when you are no longer trapped in psychological time. As you practice bringing consciousness to the present moment, these gaps of no mind become longer and more frequent. You begin to feel a stillness and peace that does not depend on external circumstances. A subtle emanation of joy arises from deep within, the joy of being itself. This is not happiness, which is always temporary and dependent on things going well in your life situation. This is a deeper peace, a serenity that underlies all external circumstances, whether they are pleasant or unpleasant. It is the peace of God, as some traditions call it, the peace that passes all understanding. To cultivate this state requires vigilance. The mind has tremendous momentum, accumulated over years of identification with thought. It will constantly try to drag you back into time. You must learn to catch it. Whenever you find yourself worrying, planning obsessively, dwelling on the past, or waiting for the future, simply notice. Do not judge yourself for being lost in thought. That judgment is just more thinking. Simply observe that your attention has drifted from the now, and gently bring it back. Feel your inner body. Sense the space around you. Notice your breath. These are anchors that bring you back to presence. One of the most powerful practices is to ask yourself regularly throughout the day, what is my relationship with the present moment? Are you making it an enemy by resisting what is? Are you using it merely as a means to get somewhere else? Or are you able to accept it fully, to allow it to be as it is? When you stop fighting reality, when you cease to demand that this moment should be different than it is, something miraculous happens. Not only does your inner state transform into one of peace and acceptance, but often the external circumstances begin to shift as well. When you are no longer in resistance, you are in harmony with life itself, and life has a way of supporting those who flow with it rather than against it. Chapter 5. The body is a portal. You have lived in your body your entire life, yet in a very real sense, you have never truly inhabited it. For most people, the body is merely a vehicle that carries the head around, and the head is where they believe they are located, trapped in a prison of compulsive thinking. But the body is far more than a physical shell. It is a doorway to the dimension of being, to consciousness itself, to the unmanifested source from which all life springs. When you learn to feel the body from within, to sense its subtle energy field, you have discovered one of the most powerful spiritual practices available to human beings. Close your eyes right now and direct your attention into your hands. Not thinking about your hands, but actually feeling them from the inside. Can you feel a subtle tingling, a sense of aliveness, a vibrancy? Now expand that awareness to your arms, your feet, your legs, your torso. Feel the energy field that gives life to the physical form. This is the inner body, and when you can feel it, you are accessing something that transcends the physical dimension. You are touching the timeless, the eternal, the indestructible essence of who you are. In that state, you are no longer primarily identified with form, with this temporary physical vehicle. You are the consciousness that animates the form. This practice is not some esoteric mystical technique. It is profoundly practical. When you inhabit your inner body, you are anchored in the now. You cannot fully feel the inner body and be lost in thinking at the same time. The two are mutually exclusive. By keeping some attention in the inner energy field of your body as you go about your daily activities, you remain present. The world no longer has the power to pull you out of yourself. Other people's unconscious behavior does not trigger your own unconsciousness, because you are rooted in something deeper than the reactive mind. Moreover, body awareness has incredible healing power. Most illness arises because consciousness has withdrawn from the body, leaving it vulnerable. When you are lost in your mind, cut off from the felt sense of the body, you create an environment where disease can take root. But when you flood your body with consciousness, when you feel it intensely from within, you strengthen not only your physical immune system, but also your psychic immune system. Negative mental emotional energy from others cannot penetrate your field. You are protected not by putting up walls, but by raising the frequency of your energy field to a level where lower vibrational energies cannot touch you. There is a simple but profound meditation you can practice to harness this healing power. Lie down, close your eyes, and systematically direct your attention to different parts of your body. Your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs, your abdomen, your chest, your head. Feel the life energy within each part as intensely as possible. Then let your attention flow through the entire body like a wave, from feet to head and back again. Finally, feel the inner body as a single unified field of energy. Hold that feeling with complete presence, being there in every cell of your body. If you practice this regularly, especially when you feel the first symptoms of illness arising, you will discover that you have the power to transmute disease before it fully manifests. The body also holds the key to emotional healing. When you experience an emotion, it is not just a mental phenomenon. It is the body's reaction to your mind. Every emotion has a corresponding physical sensation. When you feel fear, your body contracts. When you feel anger, you can sense the buildup of energy. By bringing awareness to these sensations without labeling them, without creating a story around them, you allow them to be released. The emotion passes through you like a wave and is gone, rather than being stored in the cells of your body, where it becomes part of the pain body. So make it a practice to feel your body as often as possible. Whether you are walking, sitting, talking to someone, or engaged in any activity, keep some attention in the inner energy field. This is not difficult once you get used to it. It is simply a matter of redirecting attention away from thought and into sensation. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until eventually presence, body awareness, is your default state. And when you reach that point, you will have discovered something extraordinary. You are no longer bound by the world of form. You have access to a dimension that is timeless, deathless, and infinitely peaceful. You have come home to yourself. Chapter 6. Relationships as a Path to Awakening. Most relationships in the world today are deeply dysfunctional. This is not a judgment, but a simple observation of fact. Look around at the relationships you see. Marriages filled with conflict, friendships that turn to enmity, families torn apart by resentment. Even relationships that appear successful on the surface often oscillate between brief periods of love and longer periods of subtle or overt hostility. Why is this? Because most people enter relationships while still identified with their mind and their pain body, seeking completion in another person rather than realizing they are already complete. The typical romantic relationship follows a predictable pattern. At first, there's what people call falling in love. You meet someone, and suddenly your life feels meaningful. You are intensely alive. This person seems to complete you. to fill the emptiness you have always felt inside. For a while, you are on a high, addicted to the other person like a drug. You think about them constantly. You cannot bear to be apart. This is mistaken for love, but it is not love. It is a desperate clinging born from the egoic need to feel complete, to escape from a sense of lack and fear that is the fundamental state of the unenlightened ego. Then, inevitably, something shifts. The person who once made you feel complete now becomes the source of your unhappiness. They fail to meet your needs, or you fail to meet theirs. The feelings of fear, pain, and incompleteness that were temporarily covered up by the relationship now resurface, and you perceive your partner as the cause of these feelings. You project your pain outward and attack them, either through obvious hostility or through subtle manipulation and withdrawal. They respond in kind, and the relationship becomes a battlefield. Love is turned to hate, or at least to chronic dissatisfaction, and this is considered normal. But what if relationships could be something entirely different? What if, instead of being a source of suffering, they could be the most powerful catalyst for spiritual awakening? This is possible, but only if you stop seeking salvation in another person and instead use the relationship as a mirror to show you your own unconsciousness. Every time your partner triggers you, every time conflict arises, it is an opportunity. Your unconscious patterns are being brought to the surface where you can see them. The pain body is being activated. You are being given a chance to become aware, to choose presence over reaction, consciousness over unconsciousness. Imagine you are in an argument with your partner. They have said something that hurt you, and you feel anger rising. The old pattern would be to attack back, to defend your position, to make them wrong and yourself right. But what if, in that moment, you became aware of the anger without acting on it? What if you felt the energy of the emotion in your body, recognized it as the pain body, and simply watched it without identifying with it? In that watching, a space opens up. You are no longer the anger. You are the awareness observing the anger. And from that space of presence, a completely different response becomes possible. One that is not reactive, not designed to hurt, but that comes from clarity and truth. This is what it means to have an enlightened relationship. It does not mean there is no longer any conflict or challenge. It means you do not add your own unconsciousness to the situation. You do not resist what is. You accept your partner fully as they are, without the need to change them, judge them, or use them to complete yourself. This acceptance does not mean you become passive or allow yourself to be mistreated. You can still set clear boundaries, speak your truth, and even choose to leave if the relationship is truly destructive. But whatever action you take arises from presence, not from ego-driven reaction. True love is not a relationship between two people. True love is a state of being. When you are connected to your own being, when you are rooted in presence, love flows through you naturally to all beings. It is not selective, not exclusive, not dependent on another person behaving a certain way. This does not mean you will not feel more intensely connected to one particular person, but that connection is no longer based on need, on the desperate clinging of ego. It is a recognition of shared being, a celebration of life itself expressing through two forms. And paradoxically, it is only when you no longer need another person that you can truly love them. Chapter 7. The End of Suffering. Suffering has been the lot of humanity for thousands of years. Pick up any history book, and you will find endless accounts of war, violence, oppression, disease, and misery. Even in modern times, with all our technological advances and material comforts, suffering continues. Depression, anxiety, addiction, conflict, these are epidemic. Why? Because humanity has not addressed the root cause. We try to change circumstances, to fix problems, to achieve goals, believing that when we finally get what we want, suffering will end. But it never does. As soon as one problem is solved, another arises. As soon as one desire is fulfilled, another takes its place. The Buddha recognized this truth 2,500 years ago when he taught that the root of suffering is craving, the endless wanting and needing of the mind. As long as you are identified with your mind, you will always feel that something is missing, that you are not quite complete. This sense of lack drives you to seek fulfillment in external things, success, possessions, relationships, pleasures. But nothing external can ever fill the void, because the void itself is an illusion created by the mind. Your true nature is already whole, already complete, already perfect. It is only the mind's identification with form that creates the feeling of incompleteness. All negative emotions, fear, anger, resentment, jealousy, sadness, arise from resistance to what is. When you want reality to be different than it is right now, you create suffering. This resistance can be subtle or intense, but it is always there when there is negativity. You are saying no to life, no to the present moment, and that no becomes a contraction in your energy field, a heaviness, an inner violence that you inflict upon yourself. The irony is that this resistance never changes what is. It only makes you suffer. The situation remains the same, but now you are in pain because you are fighting reality. Surrender is the antidote to suffering. Surrender does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means accepting the present moment unconditionally and without reservation. It means recognizing that what is, and that fighting it is futile. When you surrender, you stop creating resistance. The negativity dissolves. You may still take action to change a situation, but that action arises from clarity and presence rather than from ego-driven reaction. Surrendered action is far more effective than action born from resistance because it is aligned with the flow of life rather than opposed to it. This shift from resistance to acceptance is the most important transformation that can happen in your life. It is literally the difference between heaven and hell. When you accept what is, when you say yes to the present moment, you are free. Not free from circumstances, not free from challenges, but free within yourself. Nothing external can disturb your deep inner peace, because you are no longer dependent on things being a certain way for you to be okay. You have found the source of peace within yourself, and this peace is unconditional. It does not depend on what happens or does not happen in your life situation. Imagine living without the constant background anxiety that most people carry their whole lives. Imagine being free from regret about the past, free from worry about the future, free from the need to control, manipulate, or change what is. Imagine experiencing each moment fully, without the filter of judgment, without the mental commentary that turns everything into a problem. This is not some far-off spiritual ideal. It is your birthright, your natural state, available to you the moment you choose presence over resistance. And once you taste this freedom, even briefly, you will never again be fully satisfied with the prison of the egoic mind. You will have seen through the illusion, and the journey home to your true self will have begun. Chapter 8. The Collective Awakening. Something unprecedented is happening on planet Earth. For eons, human consciousness has been dominated by the egoic mind, creating endless cycles of suffering, conflict, and destruction. But now, a growing number of individuals are breaking free from this pattern. They are awakening to their true nature, to the dimension of consciousness beyond thought. This awakening is not happening randomly. It is part of a larger evolutionary shift, a quantum leap in consciousness that is available to humanity now as never before. Look around at the state of the world, and it is clear that the old way of being, the way of the unconscious, mind-identified ego, is reaching its inevitable conclusion. The problems humanity faces, environmental destruction, nuclear weapons, extreme wealth inequality, widespread mental illness, cannot be solved at the level of consciousness that created them. If humans continue on the current trajectory, unconscious of their true nature, the species will destroy itself. But there is another possibility. If enough humans awaken, if enough individuals make the shift from time to presence, from ego to being, a new world will emerge, not through political action or technological innovation alone, but through the transformation of consciousness itself. You are part of this awakening. Your presence, your consciousness, your ability to remain rooted in the now, These are not just personal achievements. They are contributions to the collective field of human consciousness. Every moment you choose presence over unconsciousness, you are adding light to the world. Every time you break the chain of reactivity and respond from awareness rather than from conditioned patterns, you are helping to dissolve the collective pain body of humanity. This is not egotistical thinking. It is simply recognizing that consciousness is one, and that the light you bring to your own being illuminates the whole. But this awakening cannot be forced or hurried. It cannot be achieved through struggle or effort in the traditional sense. It happens through surrender, through acceptance, through the simple recognition of what is already true. You do not become enlightened. You realize that you already are the light, the consciousness, the presence that you have been seeking. The search itself was the obstacle. The seeking was what prevented you from finding. When you stop looking for happiness, fulfillment, or enlightenment in some future moment and recognize that you are already the peace you seek, the search is over. And in that ending, true life begins. The transformation of consciousness is happening now, in this very moment, as you read these words and allow them to point you back to your own presence. It is happening every time you choose to be the watcher of your thoughts rather than being lost in them. It is happening every time you feel the aliveness of your inner body. It is happening every time you accept what is without resistance. These are not small things. They are everything. They are the difference between a life of suffering and a life of peace, between bondage and freedom, between the darkness of unconsciousness and the light of awakened awareness. And so we come to the end of this journey, though in truth, there is no end, only the eternal now, waiting for you to recognize it. You have heard these words, but words are merely signposts. The real teaching lives in the silence between them, in the space where your mind stops and presence begins. Everything shared here has been an invitation to discover what you already know in the deepest part of yourself, that this moment, right now, is all you ever truly have, and within it lies all the peace, all the joy, all the freedom you've been seeking. Think back to that man on the park bench, who lost everything the world values, yet found everything that truly matters. His discovery is available to you right here, right now. You don't need to become anything. You only need to stop identifying with what you are not, with your thoughts, your past, your fears, your stories. Beneath all of that noise is your true nature, the consciousness that observes, the presence that is aware, the being that exists beyond time. Every moment offers you a choice. When you catch yourself lost in thought, you can return to presence. When someone triggers your pain, you can watch it without identifying with it. When circumstances challenge you, you can accept what is rather than resist it. These choices, made again and again, are the path of awakening. You will forget and remember, fall asleep and wake up many times. But each time you return to the now, the light grows stronger. Take a moment right now. Stop reading and simply be here. Feel the aliveness in your body. Notice your breath. Be aware of the space around you. In this instant right now, are you okay? Not in your thoughts about past or future, but here, are you okay? If you look honestly, you'll find that yes, you are. There is no problem in the now, and the now is all there is. This is the power of now. This is your birthright. This is who you truly are, not a fragment lost in time, but the eternal presence itself, experiencing life through this temporary form. The journey continues with every breath, every moment, every choice to be present rather than lost in thought. May you remember who you are. May you awaken to the peace that has always been here, waiting beneath the surface of your thinking mind. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the book Sanctuary and let the world of words inspire your soul. Share this message with those ready to hear it, for consciousness is one, and your awakening contributes to the awakening of all. But above all, practice. Not tomorrow. Now. Be present. Be aware. Be the light that you are. Thank you for this moment we've shared. May you find sanctuary in the eternal now.